So, using the Idaho legal reasoning I find interesting, I wanted to apply it to this Wisconsin case, and this yellow section is favoring the prosecution and blue favors defense. It's kind of the same arguments, just looking at the issue in two different ways. And what Idaho does, that I don't think Wisconsin does, is argues the public benefits in light in contrast to the inconvenience caused to the suspect, the victim. The defendant. Does the public interest outweigh the greater good of the public interest outweigh the inconvenience placed upon the defendant is the question. So I tried to ask that with ChatGPT and took it two different ways, two different opinions, and I'll just read them. The law and police interaction described centered around Outagamie Ordinance Section 47, camping restrictions, can benefit the greater public interest while aiming to minimize inconvenience to the defendant in several ways. Benefits to public interest: preservation of public spaces. Purpose: the ordinance aims to keep parks and public spaces free from unauthorized camping, ensuring these areas remain clean, safe, and accessible for all members of the community. Impact: by preventing individuals from using parks as temporary lodging, it maintains the intended recreational use of these spaces and minimizes wear and tear on public facilities. Safety and order. Purpose: unauthorized camping can pose safety risks, including fire hazards, unsanitary conditions, and potential conflicts with other park users. Impact: enforcement of the ordinance helps maintain a safe environment for all visitors, reducing the risk of accidents and disturbances. Community standards. Purpose: the ordinance reflects community standards and expectations regarding the use of public spaces. Impact: the consistent enforcement supports community norms and ensures equitable use of public resources. Minimizing inconvenience to the defendant. Clear communication. Interaction. Officer Outagamie begins the interaction with a polite greeting and explanation of the situation, which can help de-escalate potential tension. Impact. Clear communication ensures that the defendant understands the reason for the interaction and the applicable law, reducing confusion and potential resistance. Opportunity to comply. Interaction. Officer Outagamie repeatedly asks for Hines' identification and offers explanations about the ordinance and the reason for the detainment. Impact. Providing multiple opportunities for Hines to comply with the requests can prevent a situation from escalating to an arrest, minimizing legal consequences and inconvenience. Respect for rights. Interaction. Hines invokes his rights during the interaction, and the officer responds by reiterating the need for identification under the ordinance investigation. Impact. Ensuring that the defendant's rights are acknowledged and respected during the interaction helps balance law enforcement duties with individual civil liberties. Conclusion. The enforcement of Outagamie Ordinance Section 47 aims to balance public interest with individual rights. By maintaining clean, safe, and accessible public spaces, the ordinance supports the community's well-being. The interaction, if conducted with clear communication and respect for rights, can minimize inconvenience to the defendant while achieving the ordinance's objectives. Alright, and here's the defense's side. If you want to argue that the interaction and enforcement of ordinance in this case caused more inconvenience than benefit to the public, you could focus on several key points: disproportionate enforcement and impact. Time and resources. The enforcement required multiple officers and potentially diverted resources from more pressing public safety issues. Escalation. The situation escalated to a point where Hines was detained and his vehicle was almost towed, which can be seen as an excessive response for non-violent ordinance violation. Inconvenience to the defendant. Personal freedom. Hines' detention and the threat of arrest can be seen as an infringement on his personal freedom for a relatively minor infraction. Economic impacts. Towing the vehicle and potential legal fees and fines create a significant economic burden on the defendant, which could be argued as disproportionate to the offense. Public perception and trust. Community relations. Heavy-handed enforcement of minor ordinances can erode public trust in law enforcement. People may feel that resources are being misallocated, which can harm community police relations. Perception of harassment. If the public perceives such enforcement as targeting specific individuals unfairly, it could be seen as harassment rather than maintaining public order. Minimal public benefit. Actual harm. In this case, the supposed camping did not cause any immediate harm or danger to the public. Without clear and present harm, the benefit to the public is minimal. Alternative measures, less intrusive measures, warning or ticket, could achieve compliance without causing significant inconvenience or escalating the situation. Supporting arguments, judicial efficiency. The legal system might be burdened with minor cases that could be resolved with warnings or citations, thus wasting judicial resources. Rights and civil liberties. Overly strict enforcement of such ordinances can infringe upon civil liberties, leading to potential legal challenges and public outcry. Conclusion. By focusing on these points, you can build an argument that enforcement in this particular case was more inconvenient to the defendant than beneficial to the public. This approach emphasizes the disproportionate impact on the individual, the questionable allocation of public resources, and the minimal actual benefit to public safety or welfare. So there are the prosecution's arguments and my arguments. So I can't say I'm helping the prosecution, but I mean, why wouldn't they take this stance and then leave it up to the judge to decide who's right, who's wrong?